So in this video, I'll be taking a look at the Filix Toys Inkblot 1/12 scale figure. This character is actually Rorschach from the Watchmen, and so I'll be taking a look at him. We're going to look at the figure and the box, some of the accessories. I'm going to give you my honest opinion on the figure. This was a highly anticipated figure when it was revealed last year in 2021. We'll see if it lives up to my expectations and see how it stacks up against some other figures. The front of the box is pretty cool. It has a nice picture of Rorschach, or also known as Walter Kovacs, but he prefers the name Rorschach. And then pretty much the box is pretty plain, but still has a nice look to it. Not a bad box to display though. It does look pretty cool. And then once you open the box, there is two trays here with all the accessories. First tray, we have the hat. So a nice brown fedora. And then we have the alternate masked heads. Rorschach actually calls this his face. He calls his mask his face. Second tray has all the weapons and little accessories. A decent amount of hands. Here's the butcher's knife. There's a little bit of blood there on the end of the blade. I believe he does kill 2 dogs and a man with a butcher knife. This butcher knife here. So nice that they included that. He also has the He does come with the comedian's pin. And this is just a piece of plastic with a sticker on it. And the back does have that pin detail. It also comes with a rose. And it does come with a lighter with a fire effect on it. And that effect works in tandem with the hairspray can. So of course you'd have it set up like that. Hairspray can does feel a little cheap. It's just some plastic with paper glued around it. It also come with a little bit of wire here, which that'll make sense in a second. This works with the grapple gun, and basically there are 2 different attachments for the gun. One attachment where the grapple is not shot, so you can see the actual hook is not fired out of the gun, just kind of resting on the barrel there, and then you can switch that out with the empty attachment. So this is when the hook is actually fired, and it comes with the hook attachment, and the way you attach it onto the barrel is with this piece of wire. Now you can use this one. It also comes with a longer piece, which they put in this little baggie here. So you can use the longer attachment or the shorter one, depending on what kind of display you're going for. And basically there's a really tiny hole in there that the wire goes into. And the same thing for the back of the hook here. Has a little tiny hole in there. Then you have the hook shooting out of the gun, which looks pretty good. I don't think it could have been done any better. It is pretty stable too, so that is nice. They included that. And then of course it comes with this journal, which are full of his journal entries full of his conspiracy theories of Dr. Manhattan
and Ozymandias.
Right, so now let's take a look at the actual figure, and I'll go from the top to the bottom, and I'll give my opinions on everything. Right, so here's the actual figure. Here's the unmasked head sculpt, or I guess you could say this is the masked head sculpt. But this resembles the actor that played him in the movie. So it is kind of like a realistic interpretation of the comic book version, but this is obviously the movie version. So now I'll take a look at the interchangeable mask heads, or the other faces that it comes with. I'll start off with my least favorite, which is this one. And the reason it's my least favorite, I don't like the layout of the black spots. Kind of looks like a face. I liked it more when his mask looked more like an actual Rorschach, like how psychologists make Rorschach tests. I do prefer the other designs over this one. And here's how the fedora fits on it. Fits nicely. Here's how it looks with the other head. And the last head. And then again back to the Walter Kovacs head. And the fedora does not fit on it. So the articulation is good. Swivel is obviously good. Moving down, not a whole lot of up. A little bit of tilt. Not a whole lot. But which is fine. He wasn't really an emotive character. So That's fine that he doesn't have the greatest head range. And I also have his hands in his pockets here. I took his hands out to get that effect. And I'll move on to the shoulder articulation. Shoulders move out this far. They do have butterfly, which they can move a decent amount back, not a whole lot forward. And then the rotation stops right there from the jacket. I'm afraid to push it any further because it might break. You have a swivel, which of course is hindered by the cloth. Double elbow, which gets you a very good amount of range. Then you have the wrist joints, which, because this is a collaboration, Filix Toys and Limb Toys, this body is a Limb Toys body. So if you have the Leon, Limb Toys Resident Evil 2 Leon, they have the same wrist joints, and I guess they have the same body, which is good. The body feels pretty durable, but not the best articulation, and we'll get to that later. But the most annoying thing is the wrist joints. When you take the hand out, it comes off with part of the wrist peg in there. So not the biggest problem, like it's not breaking the wrist or anything or bending it, so it's not that big of a deal, but it is kind of annoying how when you're switching out hands you got to take this piece out. One other thing I want to mention about the jacket is that it is wired. The belt here is wired, but the copper looking wire is like really apparent in some angles, so you got to be careful of that when you're taking pictures. Also, the Velcro here isn't the strongest, so what I like to do is pull it over more and then tighten it up with the belt. Actually, and I'm going to go ahead and take off his jacket. The jacket is pretty good. It's made out of a kind of a thin material though, but it does look good on camera and in person, and it kind of has this two-ply feel to it. You have the inward material, which is different from the outward material. It's both sewn together, so that's pretty good. Straps here is not hooked in. That is accurate to the moving. I imagine it's the same in the comic. Kind of beige, light beige shirt, dress shirt, and take off his scarf here. And now shirt is tightly tucked in. It's actually attached by a piece of elastic to the inside of the pants there, so you can't take the shirt completely out. But from here we can look at the torso articulation. This is a separate piece, so it is kind of rubbery. This rubber overlay here, and it doesn't give you a whole lot of range. The upper torso gives you about that much, not a whole lot, and then back gives you a little bit more, but it is kind of a weird setup in there, and you probably can't see it, but it looks weird in there. It doesn't look normal. It's not like a ball joint. I see like a little box in there, like a hinge, and then the lower torso joint by itself forward doesn't give you a whole lot. Backward gives you a little bit more, and then both combined gives you, of course, the most. So if the articulation is covered up, why do they need to cover it more with this rubber overlay? So I'm not sure that this really helps the figure. I think it harms the figure more than it helps. And then we'll get into the biggest problem that I have, which is the legs. Now again, I also had a problem with the Limb Toys Leon in the leg area. It does kick forward an okay amount, not the greatest. There are obviously figures that have better articulation there, but it isn't the worst. But it's still there, still functional. There is no thigh swivel, and they don't go back at all. Double jointed knees, which work. The material of the pants is also kind of thin, as well as the shirt. It also has gray socks, and they're actually a nice thicker material. They actually stay there. And then you come down to his boots, which he is wearing like a kind of slip-on shoe, which is a little disappointing. I mean, I would have liked for him to have nicer shoes, but this is accurate. No need to waste time tying shoelaces. And the ankle articulation is pretty limited too, so you can pivot about that much and go the other way a little bit more. Forward, not too bad. Back, could be better, but nonetheless it is still functional. And just because here's the Leon head, Lim Toys Leon on the body. And here's the PW Toys Leon on the Rorschach body. And then here's the Patriot Studios Joaquin Phoenix Joker. That actually looks pretty cool. Doesn't really fit on there, but whatever. You can put any head with a neck attachment, you can put it on there. Right, so now for some comparisons. Here's the Lim Toys Leon. Now, it's another thing that I wish would have been a little different is Rorschach's height. He's actually a pretty short person. Here's a PW Toys Leon. So Rorschach, I think he's like 5'5" or something. He's like really short. So they did make him kind of big, which it's not a huge issue, but I think it would have looked better if he was a little bit shorter. And here he is next to Patriot Studios Joker. Maybe if he was this height, would have been better. So like, oh, of course, here's the I believe this is Mattel, the DC, the Dr. Manhattan figure. And yeah, so this could have looked better if Rorschach was a little bit shorter. That would have made his overall look and his overall presence more accurate to the comic and the movie. Here he is next to Star Wars Black Series Bosk, and Rorschach is actually taller than Bosk. Here's Ozymandias from the 2-pack with Dr. Manhattan. And I pretty much bought that 2-pack for Manhattan. This figure sucks. You can't even stand. A piece of crap. And here he is next to Tojo Nozomi from Love Live. So there you go. Silver Centurion, Iron Man, Lightning Collection, White Ranger, and the John Walker Captain America. So I think this figure is a very strong release from Filix Toys. I think you definitely have to pick it up if you're a fan of Rorschach, if you're a fan of Watchmen, the comics or the movie, if you're a fan of the character. I'm a pretty big fan of Rorschach. I watched the Watchmen visual comic video thing, and that was pretty cool. The comic was cool. I skipped through the movie. The movie was okay. There's a couple things that were kind of weird, kind of off the source material, I feel, but the Rorschach character in the movie was pretty good, pretty faithful recreation of the character from the comic. One thing that I think it should have came with is the sign that he would hold on the street. The sign that said "The end is nigh." That would have been an easy accessory to pack in, just like a piece of brown plastic with writing on it. Besides that, and besides some of the articulation being not as good as it could be, I think this is a very strong figure. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a 5 out of 5.
Soon there will be war. Millions will burn. Millions will perish in sickness and misery. Why does one death matter against so many? Because there is good and there is evil, and evil must be punished. Even in the face of Armageddon, I shall not compromise in this. But there are so many deserving of retribution, and there is so little time.
You're with him! You brought him here to kill me!